questions. That's my intro. Well, yeah.
That's the intro. Good.
We don't know what the questions are, so let's find out. Let's do it. Oh, okay. How do you prepare physically and vocally for performance?
Well,
Good question.
you first.
Me first. Okay. Are we making a pile of used questions? Okay. I don't know. I do different things depending on the scenario. For example, today we are filming our music video. So for that one, I didn't really need to do a lot to physically prepare, aside from get myself ready.
Yeah. And part of that, I suppose, because you're playing on the beach.
Yeah, it very much is. For the album when recording it, lots of vocally warming up. Some of the songs are big sings. But just trying to get as much energy and life into me as possible is always what I do before a performance. Because, when you're performing, whether it's just your voice that the audience is hearing, or it's for film, or if it's a live theatre thing on stage, you need to have 110 energy levels through the roof to actually come across with any form of storytelling. Because it's always easier to be like, oh, I'm insane, I'll just dial that back a bit. But when you walk out onto a stage or a set, I always just want to be through the roof energy so that I can have the option of dialing it back. There's nothing worse than trying to lug energy out of yourself when you're dead. There's nothing worse.
Yeah, which is interesting because I'm not a big prepper.
Yeah, you never have.
And that's but it also probably comes from the fact that you're trained in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and my journey's been self-learning thing and learning how to learning how to write songs by writing songs, learning how to do shows by doing shows, learning how to perform by performing, as opposed to doing any of the training stuff that you do. So, and I think it's probably why this works. Probably.
And I guess you probably do your preparation things. You just don't think of it as preparing. It's just what you've always done.
Yeah. Next question.
Ooh, long one.
Glasses.
There they are. Good.
So, right. We'll do that again.
I can't read, you can't see. Good combination.
Next question. Mary is such a well-known and loved historical figure, at least in paleo circles. How do you find the balance between the known facts of her life and the story you'd like to tell? What did you do to get into her head and develop a voice that is engaging and respectful, but also authentic? So there's a few bits to that.
Yeah.
How do you find the balance between the known facts of her life and the story you'd like to tell? So there's probably a bit for me to talk about first, and then probably you to talk about the other stuff. One of the really important things with telling stories about historical characters is that you have to, where there are known facts, those are immutable. They stay. So you have to, and while Mary's well known, there's not a huge amount known about what did she do on Tuesday, March the 5th in 1821. We don't know a lot about, do you know what I mean? So for most historical characters, even somebody like Napoleon, we don't know lots and lots and lots about their daily routines and stuff. And so with Mary, we know some stuff. We know she did the fossiling stuff. She wrote some things. She drew some things. So there were a lot of gaps. And part of, and I suppose because I've been doing this for a long time, this kind of style of thing is that you get to play in the gaps. You get to dance in the gaps, I often describe it as. What's really important is that when you're dancing in the gaps, the dance needs to be consistent with the other facts. So firstly, the facts are immutable, but secondly, it needs to be something that is plausible.
Yeah.
It needs to be something that's plausible in the context of the time. So, for example, you wouldn't have Mary Anning jumping on a spaceship and fly. Do you know what I mean? So it's about that plausibility. So the next part of the question, this is for you, Mary. What did you do to get into her head and develop a voice that is engaging and respectful, but also authentic?
I'm not really sure because, like, myself personally, I don't have a background in science and paleontology, and like the way that we got there was through your passion and your research into that. So for me, like, I was just focusing on trying to make a real human being. I did a lot, like, I love, like, period pieces, like movies and TV shows and stuff. Like, and I just remember I watched Little Women when it came out in 2020, so the new version of it. And at the time we had, like, recently had a conversation about Mary Anning, and it was when this was all first starting initially. And I watched it New Year's Day, like, bang on when it came out. And I just remember watching it and being like, oh yeah, I can, like, from what I've heard of Mary Anning, I reckon she would be a similar human being to Jo, who's the main character in Little Women. And, like, I just remember going, like, oh, okay. And so then when it actually came around to when we were filming the first, like, video with Mary Anning, I was like, how can I find the sense of I'm a real human being, I've been through hardship, I keep getting shut down and pushed aside because I'm a woman, without being negative and keeping the fun and lightheartedness to her.
Yeah, because
so that was a lot of my job, was trying to balance, like to create a layered human being of, like, I've been put down, I've had a hard life, but I'm positive and I'm moving forward and this is my passion and I enjoy doing this, and yeah, trying to layer her up like that so that you can see that she's got more depth to her than just I'm a paleontologist.
And I think there's some moments in that first video that we did where you're leaping off the rocks, and for me that's about the joy.
Yeah.
You know, because Mary, we're dealing with teenage Mary here.
Oh, absolutely.
I suppose the other thing that's kind of relevant to that is that in the writing of the songs, one of the really cool things about being a songwriter is when you're writing for somebody and you know their voice and you know the character they're going to be. So there's those things kind of gel together, don't they? So the ballad, the My Dog Trey, I'm writing it and your voice is in my head.
Must be so annoying.
But you know, but in a good way,
yeah.
Not the other ways that it normally is. But so you very much hear that voice, and knowing how you would sing it,
yeah,
for me is very much how kind of we've placed Mary, because you know we don't know if she walked along the beach singing songs.
No idea.
But that's the point of musical theatre and musicals and stuff.
Absolutely. Next question.
Next question.
Okay. Was there anything you learned about Mary during this process that surprised you?
No.
No, I know everything.
For me, I don't think so, because I've read lots and as I said, there's only a limited
it's kind
amount.
It's kind of hard because there is so little, like, information about her, really. Like, she was so unknown. So
well, in terms of I mean, she was known at the time, but in terms of what we know about how she lived and what she did and stuff, you know, aside from the paleo stuff, there's not a lot known about her. So, I don't think, for me, I don't think there was.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because, there wasn't a lot of information about who she was as a person. Like, there was a lot that you can deduce from what she achieved. Like, you can assume that she was really driven. You know, you can assume that she loved everything outdoorsy and, like you can...
Yeah, because she did all those things.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you can see the type of person that she would be if she was in today's society, based off of the information that we have. But we have no idea, really, what it was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're sure she was lovely.
Positive.
All right, next question.
You're good at picking the long ones.
If Mary had been considered a scientific equal in her time, what difference do you think that would have had to science then and B to science now. She was considered an equal at the time. I think in terms of the science, it's a really interesting question and hard for a male to answer who's not strictly speaking, not a scientist. I think she, because a lot of her stuff that she discovered, the plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs and stuff, so because a lot of those discoveries were bought and were used to write scientific papers, I think a lot of the science came out. But we don't know what other insights she might have provided at the time had she been more involved in the process. And the impact on that in terms of now, I think science would have been more equal in terms of men and women. Like most workplaces or most disciplines, science is still in a lot of areas quite male dominated, and professors are generally old white people, old white men. So maybe that would have helped shift things quicker. But I think I don't. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, what's your thoughts without being a scientist?
Honestly, my first thought was, well, she'd be able to get funding. Obviously, if someone is able to give you money to do what you love, then you're gonna be able to do more of it and find more things. So, I guess, fossils that we're digging up now, she probably would have dug up then if she had the money and facilities to do so. We just would have been ahead.
Yeah, and I get. In fact, I think what you're kind of moving towards in terms of that answer is how much further might we have been ahead had she been acknowledged and given more training and expertise. Because she didn't go to uni, she didn't do everything, was self-taught and stuff, which is, I suppose, kind of why as a self-taught person there's a resonance there too. But maybe we would have been much further forward in terms of our understanding of things had she access. And I think that's probably the key component of that. So it's about access, and it's about giving women access to science. And we hope, I think, in the telling and sharing of this story, this is somebody who persisted, who was, as a friend of mine once said, defiant in her curiosity. And I think there's lots of things that women and men of today can find in that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Oh, it's me, isn't it? Is it me?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Oh. That's okay. We're gonna lose the pattern eventually. Every time.
After wearing the hat of Professor Flint and Mary Anning, I'm just the Professor Flint hat. After wearing the hat of Professor Flint and Mary Anning for an extended period of time, do you ever struggle to switch back to your normal selves, as Michael and Gemma? Okay, so there have been times when I've been Professor Flint for several days in a row at somewhere like the South Australian Museum, and I'm doing shows, and then between the shows I'm roving around. So I am for 4 or 5 or 6 hours in a row. You're basically doing a 5-hour show because you're in character for that whole period of time. And yes, I have been known to go into a pub afterwards and say, "Hello, I'll have a schooner of beer, thanks." I've been known to be reading things afterwards to relax, and I'm reading with a Scottish accent. So what does so yes. I mean, what does help is that when you Flint up, you got the hat, the glasses on the nose, the t-shirt, the lab coat, And Flint is often, he has a particular walk, and I often talk about this. He has a walk that I don't have. And so, and he has I don't think manic is quite, no, maybe it is. He has a manic way of thinking and responding and reacting because he's constantly in awe of the gloriousness of natural history and the world around us. So when I turn back into Michael, I tend to quite often be like, and veg a bit. But yeah, I have been known to read in a Scottish accent inside my... Like, this is not reading out loud, like reading a book. And I'm reading it, my inner voice is Scottish. But yeah, going to pub and ordering.
Random. God. No, I can't say I've ever had the same problem.
Do you reckon it's the training?
Possibly.
Maybe not. Or just the personality type that I'm just mental.
I don't know. I like the way that I always my first approach when getting into character. For some characters, it doesn't work, and I need to think of a new way in. But generally speaking, and what I do for Mary is like I use a lot of imagery, and I kind of visualize a new surrounding, and that's my like quick way into a character. So when I get a new character, I will create like a picture in my head of just like, it's a trigger picture. It's kind of the best description that I have of it. Yeah, and so like for Mary, it's like my trigger picture is like, it was the first beach that we went to with all the cliffs. And it's like, I can picture like everything kind of goes into like a sepia tone in this trigger picture because that's how I relate to
the olden days.
Kind of a sepia tone, you know, and I'm in my dress and I can feel it all on me, like how it sits. And I just kind of take a second to be like, this is where I am. You know, I've traveled back in time in my head and I'm ready to go. And then the second that it's called cut or I walk off stage or whatever I'm doing, I'm instantly able to just let go of that and be like, yep, I'm off. Yeah. I'm good.
I mean, part of that's interesting too, because for me, when I flint up, it's always the hat that goes on at the end. It's like, right, I'm him now. And I've had people talking to Flint or other characters, like I've been Father Christmas, and they're wanting to talk to Michael. It's like, Michael's gone.
Yeah, it's like once you've hit that point, it's like, no, like I'm ready now. I need to go, and you can deal with Michael or Gemma later.
Or like, I'll pass on a message to Michael if you like.
Yeah. Oh no, scaffy glasses. Yeah, I don't know. So I've never had. It's always some of the behind the scenes videos are quite funny because you'll see me like running and jumping and be like, "Woo, Mary," and then Michael will be like, "Okay, great," and instantly I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like it's, I don't know. There's something so funny about watching someone like click out of character.
Yeah, because sometimes you suddenly just stop to get.
Just like mid jump, you're just like, oh. Next question. Okay, little top one. Maybe. Ooh. If not Mary, then who would be your next choice?
As a character to play or a historical character? Well, maybe you first, because you're doing the whole musical theatre thing at Griffith. So is there a role for you that you would want to play?
Oh, I don't know. I guess
that comes to mind that
because I'm also trying to relate it to like if I wasn't doing this project with you, what would be the next project that I would do within this heaps good realm? Like, because I could just list off a list of dream roles to play in random musicals, but that's not particularly relevant.
Yeah. So whether it's okay, so if the question to the both of us, if we weren't working on this Mary thing, what would we be working on? Well, I've got some ideas, but first, over to you.
I don't know. I'm not a historian or a scientist, so I don't know a lot about, because you know what's so good about what you do is it's all based in fact. You know, we don't just write random characters. I mean, we do sometimes, but even them are based in fact.
But even then, there's you like to find the truth, especially where there's truth that you can challenge and interrogate.
Yeah.
flip the points of view.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've done Pirates. We've done Mary. What's another niche
I reckon,
human?
I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking the Big Book of Pirates.
Yeah, actually, that's
for me,
fair. That's fair.
Is something that, and I'm talking to some folk at the moment about doing an updated version of it. So I did an album a couple of years ago associated with that called the Big Songbook of Pirates, but not all the songs from the Big Book of Pirates version 1 and 2 are on it, and it's only my voice on the album. So one thought would be to do a fully consolidated version of the two shows together, and to do the album that goes with that. The format that it's done in, whether it's done as a musical or a ballet or a cartoon, or look, if you've got a huge sum of money and you want to create something Disney-esque and lovely, this is the show. And what I liked about that show, you know, the same as this one, you know, it was about empowering women, and I think it's really important that middle-aged white men do what they can to be allies and are not threatened by it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Absolutely.
I think that.
Yeah.
I think if it's a thing that we're both working on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely that.
Yeah, no, that show has like a ridiculous amount of potential because it really is. It's like all the kids that came to that show just adored it because it was like you had this woman like that was like, I'm going to be a pirate, and it was so empowering for all the little girls that were like, I'm not going to like this. Instantly they were engaged. And then you had all the reality of being a pirate, like all of the.
It's not great.
It's not great. Like a lot of the songs, except when Buddy the Dragon comes in, were based in fact. They were all about real things that pirates or people on long voyages and ships.
You're saying Buddy the Dragon's not real?
Oh.
Although there is that song, You Can't Be Real.
Yeah.
But
there's that.
Turns out he is.
Turns out he is. But it's, you know, it's all based in fact. So you had the education, you had female empowerment, you had hilarious jokes about.
That was me. That was my role.
Vomiting.
I was the idiot in the show who knew.
Like, yeah, it ticks so many boxes.
Yeah, and the other thing with that too is that so we did one episode in the Maritime Museum in the January.
Yeah.
Second, part 2 was in July, and that was very much a show where your voice was in my head.
He worked with me once and he was stuck. He was stuck with that voice.
She won't go away. It's just like I walk out the front door and she's like there in the TARDIS. No, it's real. It's but it was that thing of like the opening song for Big Book of Pirates, which is a big argument between the two characters, was very much written knowing our voices.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I think if you listen to it live, you'd go, that suits those voices because it was written for it. And that's where the ballad, the Buddy the Dragon ballad, came from. Because again, that was like, oh, I hear your voice.
Yeah. And the Buddy the Dragon ballad was kind of the basis of My Dog Trey. Like it kind of became...
Similar style, kind of.
Yeah, I was like, you saw how that worked and you were like, how can I use the information that I got from that song to then create this new ballad for Mary?
Yeah, because this is the kind of song that suits Gemma Dandie's voice. Am I?
I think it's you. I think it's you.
Let's see if I can do it the right way this time.
Did you do it? Well done.
Good Lord. What kind of music do you think Mary Anning enjoyed? Do you think she would like your songs if she had the chance to hear them? Yes, she would love the album. She would... oh, look, I don't know what kind of music she would have liked. There's a few different styles on the album, so hopefully there's something there. I reckon she would have loved My Dog Trey. I also reckon she'd have been quite chuffed that, and we're not the only folk that have done something in telling her story, but she would be quite delighted to know that more than 200 years later, that her legacy is being recognised and acknowledged, whether it's with the statue or the movies that have come out or with this album. So I think she would. I mean, she might be a little bit self-deprecating with it. She might be like, "Oh, I can't believe you did that. That's so lovely." I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's not often that somebody has an album written inspired by their story.
Yeah.
So she might feel a bit awkward or weird, but I would hope that she likes it. As I say, I think she'd love the ballad, and I don't know, maybe she likes jazz. What do you? What do you think? What do you reckon she'd think of the album?
I don't know. I mean, I reckon she'd love it. How could you not? If paleontology is your passion and someone wrote an entire album based on your life and your discoveries and paleontology, and how could you not love that? I think that would be awesome.
So when I write the Gemma Dandie musical, like your life story,
that would be awesome.
Or weird. Yeah.
Yeah, or super weird.
Super weird. All right. You're
My
next.
turn. Okie dokie.
There's only another 37 questions to go.
Oh, okay. Ooh. What challenges did Mary Anning face that current scientists, particularly women in STEM, can relate to? As a woman in STEM.
As a woman in STEM. Or me, as a woman in STEM.
Yes. Neither of us are a woman in STEM. But yeah, I was I mean, personally, my mum is a scientist. My mum works in microbiology and plant research science. Yeah, and I just I don't know what she would have done if she couldn't do that in today's I honestly don't know what she would have done, because there's some people that are just built to research and discover and just can't sit still. She comes home after being on the microscope and she'll be like, look at this picture, and it'll be like a plant cell that's microscopic, funnily enough, and it will just look like a weird smudge on a screen with little circles on it.
I knew you pretended to go, that's great,
I'm
Mum.
yeah, that's great, Mum. But she's so passionate and so excited about it because she just loves her job. And it's, I can't imagine being in a society where you'd be like, I want to research, I want to discover new things, I found this thing, I'm so excited about it, and no one is caring or listening or pretending to be I can only imagine how horrible that would be.
Yeah, and I guess interesting just that thing that Mary persisted, and and there's a really cool quote by in a diary of a lady, I forget her name, but she talks about how Mary had the best brain for all of this stuff at the time, so that the men in the Geological Society would ask her things, but you can't join our club. She was one of the first people to work out that a coprolite, well, what a coprolite was, that it was fossilised poo. That fossilised poo could actually fossilise. You know, she was told that when she discovered this plesiosaur, everyone thought it's fake, and she's gone, actually, blah blah blah. No, it isn't. They've gone, oh, you're right. Yeah. So I think, yeah.
You.
Me. Were there any songs you were making on that didn't end up making the cut for the album? How did you go about making a decision on which songs go forward and which ones don't? All the songs are on the album. Next question. No. All the ones we recorded.
Oh yeah.
Are on the album. There's a couple that I played with that weren't quite resonating. That might become a thing later. There's a really cool illustration that talks about the cartoon. I forget the name of the woman who did it, but it's like my it's about all the geologists come to my yard, but they still won't let me belong to the Royal Geological Society. So it's a play off of that song.
Of Milkshake?
It was a play off of that song, yeah. And it's fabulous. And so I started playing around with that, and it just didn't quite work. So it isn't a song. But all of the ones... it's great.
All of the songs that finished writing.
All the songs that I finished writing are on there. And then the next question was what order do we put them in?
The order changed a lot.
But I reckon, and we'll have another look at it today, but I reckon it's in the right place. And the cool thing is I think we both pretty much agree. It's like, oh yeah. So yeah, all of the songs, and I suppose part of it, like when you're writing a song, you're writing things you love writing. So you don't, the thing that doesn't quite resonate just gets like, oh, I'll push that over there. The Trey song, the melody was like a 5-minute thing, and the rest of the song was just like...
Yeah.
So the Trey song was pretty quick. The title track, These Curious Things, that took longer because I wanted to put together those words like vertebrates and what are the
how does the song go?
So
fairy hearts, vertebrates, crocodiles, teeth, devils, toenails.
So all of those words that we used to refer to different things on the beach at the time. So you have to kind of, a part of that becomes part of the craft. So you're crunching it. But that song for me also needed to have a particular style. So they all made the cut, and that's mostly been the experience when I do an album. Like all the previous Professor Flint albums, it was like write the song. If you for me, I get a sense pretty much part way through. It's like this is going to be rubbish.
If you're not feeling it, you don't finish it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Good. Okie dokie. Oh, what's your plan B? What's your plan B when it is obvious that the music and the words aren't working together? If you're not feeling it, don't finish it.
Yeah. So.
Or add a random scat section. Obviously.
I don't even know if there is a plan B. I don't.
I guess, well, like Michael was talking about, he wrote some songs when he was younger, and it was all, sappy, romancy, break-uppy life songs, and he kind of used some of the melodies and bits and bobs from them and rewrote the lyrics.
Yeah, so the Seaside song. The Seaside song was about me. The Seaside song was written about me walking into a room. The melody and the original lyric was about me walking into a room. There's a girl there that I like, and I just go, and I get all tongue-tied and bumbly and just.
So it was a random song that he then adapted and was like, "Oh, this is an excellent melody. I'm a genius. I should write more words so that I can use this in this album." So I guess that's probably the closest thing we have to the music and the lyrics didn't work together. It was just like, wow, that's a great melody. I'm going to use that. But yeah.
So and also because and different people write in different ways. But most of the time, the melody and at least a significant component of the lyric appears at the same time. It's really weird. Like when you're writing, and then it's just a question of second verse, third verse, and the craft thing of it. But it's really weird sometimes when you're writing because, like, a fully formed sentence, and I don't know how this. You go, you just write the fully formed sentence. How does your brain know to put all those words together that work and stuff? So
brains are weird.
Weird. In particular. So I think So, and there are sometimes times where with the lyrics, and usually for me melody, I love melody. So if there are bits where the lyric isn't quite gelling, you just need to find the rhythm in the words. And again, because I've been doing this for a long time, the rhythm of the words, and the words need to dance as well as the music. So it's that kind of thing, how they kind of work together.
Yeah. And occasionally we'll come across a moment. I don't know if it actually happened with this album, but I just remember with Big Book of Pirates, there'd occasionally be one line that you were like, oh, it's just a bit clunky. And so then it would just be a matter of shuffling a couple words, or say this instead of that.
Because
it's just, that's how it fits better.
So sometimes in the process of writing, you might write it and you hear it in your head, and then you sing it out loud. And singing it out loud is like, oh. So that's part of the rewriting process.
There's some words that you can't say back to back for whatever reason. They make perfect sense, but they don't come out.
Yeah, so that's all part of the process.
Yeah.
All right, am I? No.
Yeah, I did believe it's you.
Did you ask that one?
Yeah, that was the plan B.
Right.
Yeah.
Glasses on.
Glasses on. Question right way up. Yeah, close enough.
What aspects of Mary's story do you think were the most important to capture in song? I think her work. Mm-hmm. I think her passion for paleontology and for the natural world. I think the opening track of the album is I Am a Paleontologist. So for me, that's a really important declaration by her, saying this is who I am. So I think, I think it's that. I think her passion, but her
essence.
Yeah,
kind of...
and imagination. So the song When You Come Sailing With Me, where I've got this, every time I listen to it, I picture, Mary and Flint from their different time on a sailing ship sailing through the Jurassic oceans, and these creatures are swimming in the oceans, and you've got pterosaurs flying above. So I part of me likes to think that there's an imagination there.
Absolutely, because you can only imagine. A lot of the fossils that she was discovering, they've never been seen before, and they don't have the same CGI technology that we have today. It's she was looking at this fossil and she had no idea what the physical animal looked like. She was like, this is, and so she had to imagine that.
So
she was based on this bone structure or this indent in a rock, I'm going to tell you what that animal looks like.
Yeah, and we a lot of paleontologists that I know, part of what you do is that you, whether it's a single tooth or something, you imagine.
Yeah.
Knowing we've got this bunch of bones here, what did it look like when it was actually alive? What did it do? How did it move? All those sorts of things. So I think it's capturing all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I think first and foremost, it's her passion and enthusiasm for her work. Yeah. Oh, and her relationship with her dog.
Yep, is important.
She loved this dog. I think this is I know you described it the other day. We were talking about it somewhere. It's like a love song to her dog.
Yeah, it kind of is.
But like a friendship love song, but yeah.
Oh, well, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember what I said.
But for you, what do you get from having sung all these songs? What do you sense is the essence of the story of what we've told?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of it's her essence. It kind of, for me, through the lyrics mainly, is just you see how excited and passionate she was, and it makes you feel excited. I just think of curious things. It's you can imagine her sitting down with a new discovery and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so curious. I want to find out more. What does this tell me? How can I, expand from here? You can really, the songs just bring to life our interpretation of who she was. And based off of these songs, she was pretty great.
Over to you.
Next question. Okie dokie. Oh. Okay. What is your personal favourite prehistoric animal and why? This is a must question for a junior paleo audience.
So, do you have a favourite?
I don't really know.
I do.
Oh, of course you do.
It's not this, although this is pretty cool. T-Rex is like
T-Rex.
remarkable.
Mm.
Australovenator,
Wow.
Australian dinosaur, amazing creature, probably the biggest predatory dinosaur we know of so far in Australia. They may be bigger, as some of the long necks that we found suggest that there would have been something big enough to hunt those.
Oh dang.
So there's a titanosaur they found, Australotitan, initially called Cooper, but the paper was published last year, and one of the things I think that Scott Hocknell talks about is that if you've got a dinosaur that big, then you've got likely to have other things that might try to eat it. So T-Rex size things. Oh, wow. So Australovenator, and there's a song about that. There's a song about the dinosaur stampede, which may or may not have involved Australovenator. But my other favourite is of the megafauna, Thylacoleo, which is a giant scissor-toothed possum, drop bear, carnivorous tree-climbing wombat with scissors for teeth kind of thing. So
the ultimate Australian animal.
So So predators. There's something about predators, I think, because you think because of the hunting they need to be smart, but also just the Thylacoleo. What an extraordinary! I would have loved to have seen it. And I think because Thylacoleo, we know that its ancestors were herbivores. So at some point, one of its ancestors has gone, sick of salad. I'm going to... But we even see that today. So I've seen kangaroos on the side of the road on Kangaroo Island having a bit of a nibble of some roadkill. So what may well have happened with Thylacoleo's ancestor is had that nibble, not of the roadkill because there weren't roads back then, but it's had a bit of a nibble of that protein, like opportunistic moment of protein, and it's gone, ooh, I like that, and then has adapted over hundreds of thousands of generations to be able to be perfect for hunting that. Or it might also have been that there were conditions were such, changing environment meant that it's like, oh, I need to eat this. And stuff. So, Thylacoleo and Australovenator. And I love them because they're from here in Australia. So, rest of the world, you got great prehistoric creatures. But I love the stuff that comes from here.
That's fair. I was going to be boring and say a pterodactyl, just because they fly and I think that's cool.
That's plenty. But that's all you need. I mean, my answer is this big long blah 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 blah. Oh, the historical ancestors, and you're like, I like pterodactyls because they fly.
They do though.
And that is just as a legitimate answer.
Like birds. I like birds. I think that if I was an animal,
you've got a bird.
I do have a bird. But like, I think I would be like a pretty little bluebird if I was an animal, and I can just if we lived and dinosaurs were still a thing, then I think I'd be a pterodactyl. I like flying. Okay.
You like flying.
It's cool.
Okay. Next question.
Yes.
Glasses. As a songwriter, how do you go about writing a song for a particular person's voice? Talk us through the process for coming up with the subject, the lyrics, and the music. I don't know.
Watch that be Jaden's question. I'm putting my bets down.
Talk us through the process of coming up with this. I think it's very intuitive. I think it's hearing your voice. It's knowing the story. It's trusting. It's about creativity. All good creativity, I think, is about trusting your instinct and trusting the thing that comes out. You can always rewrite things. But I think, so the whole process of coming up with the subject, the lyrics and the music. So coming up with the subject it can be a moment, it can be an instant where you're reading something and you go, oh, that. So the title track, These Curious Things, it can be just suddenly thinking, oh yeah, all of those words, vertebraries and things, how cool would that be? And then your brain starts. Now it might be that you come back a few days later. The Trey song, there was always going to be a song about Mary and Trey.
There always needed to be.
There was always going to be a song about Mary and her dog Trey on this album.
Yeah.
But you just trust that your brain will come up with it. And then the lyrics and the music, they dance together. And so I don't. If I was to do a songwriting course, it would probably be quite
useless. Well, it would just
Thank
be you
you.
sitting in a corner going, trust the process. And everyone just be like, great.
But trust the music that you hear inside you. Trust the words that come out. Trust. It's so. And there are a couple of things that I do sometimes talk about. One is writing is the analogy is vomiting.
Yep.
So that whatever comes out, you know, when you vomit, and haven't we all?
Not recently, actually.
Oh, good. But vomiting, you don't slow. You don't stop. It all just comes out when it comes out. So writing music and lyrics and things like that that's the best thing to do. Just let it come out, because you can always edit it afterwards. But then what that does, that vomited set of words and melody, you can then use that to go to somewhere else. So there was a song that I wrote for Gory Stories at the Maritime Museum a few years ago, and the curator wanted me to write a song like, she said, oh, could you do a song like Because I'm Happy, like But Because I'm Stinky? So I started with that, like, it might be crazy what I'm supposed to do, or something, that first line of it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and then that just ended up in this weird waltz, in a minor key that if you didn't know, but I kept the first line as an homage to the song.
Yeah.
It might seem crazy what I'm supposed to do. The smells and the stenches are, or something like that. Anyway, but there's this tangentializing process. So it's like you create a thing, and then that allows you to jump over to there, and then that allows you to jump over there. You would never have gotten from there to there, but for those dancing around. So it's and I use dance a lot when it comes to creativity, because that's what it is. I think it's your neurons dancing and your brain dancing. So and in terms of, as I say, the person's particular voice, you just hear it. Yeah. You just hear it. They keep reminding me that your voice is in my head.
They really do. They're like, you'll never get rid of it. Next question. Okie dokie. Did you wear a costume to get into character when singing, as opposed to a video? Did this help or restrict your performance? Well, Micah did not. I didn't wear a costume when we were recording. It was just me in my normal clothes. But yeah, like as I kind of explained before, with the like whole visualization English. Like I had that picture in my head that I could just turn on. Like, yeah, I guess like that for me as an actor is I always need to be like have a trigger that just is able to just go, I'm in character. I'm good to go. Yeah. You know, and occasionally we'd just be like, oh, you screwed up this one line. We need you to record this one line. And I'd be like, yep, okay. One line in character. Like you can't just be like, oh, it's just one line. It's, yeah.
Yeah, and like for me, I it's funny, whenever I'm Flint doing a show or a video, I'm obviously in the costume, but when I'm recording Flint, I'm not dressed as Flint. No. But clearly you get into a mode, and it's that switching on thing, I think. So it didn't. Would have been funny. Could have been interesting.
Would have been hot.
Flint and Mary sitting in the studio just going. And so that's probably not how they spoke, but yeah. No.
Yeah. I do believe this is the last question.
This is the last one, but I've got some that I made up that are probably the most glorious questions in the world.
Quite possibly.
or they're rubbish.
Upside down, just for old time's sake.
Yeah, good question. It's actually yeah. How do you get into the headspace of a 19th century woman?
That for you. How do you get into the headspace?
How do I get into the headspace of a 19th century woman?
Yeah.
I have to make assumptions, and I'm cognizant that my assumptions might all be wrong, and I think it's important that I know that and acknowledge it and own it, because in writing Mary's one element of Mary's story in one particular way through the songs, it's me as a male writing it. But I think I've worked enough over the years in challenging my own views of the world, that, you know, like most white males, probably as a teenager and a bit older, I was probably not not as well aware of things that I am now. Let's put it that way.
That was well said.
Yeah. But I think it's that how do you be an ally? So I can't possibly put my brain into the head of a 19th century woman, but what I can do is write what I think from having interrogated what I've thought, but also speaking to a lot of people that I know, a lot of women in paleontology that I've spoken to. And Flint, a couple of years ago, did a whole bunch of interviews with, I did about 15 or 16 interviews with women in paleontology from Australia and around the world. And I think all of those things help. I can't possibly be that, but it helps.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that I'm aware of that, and people that listen are aware of that. This is the boy writing it. But what I've loved about the album is that you sing on all the songs and I don't.
You know, but like even so, it's like I can't get exactly inside a head of a woman in the 19th century, like, because we've come so far as a society, like we can only imagine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like I wouldn't have been able to cope back then. Absolutely not. So it's like, I guess you've just kind of, you know, based off of the information that I know, I've just kind of got to empathize with her, and like, you know, make no judgments of the society that she was in, you know, and just kind of try and be like, yep, this is where it is. This is like, and try and accept it, because I guess that's the closest thing. Like, as much as she tried to fight society, it's like that's what she was living in. That was the norm, you know. So it's like, it's kind of like this. I guess the good thing about this album is we don't have to be in the head of a 19th century woman, because there are songs like I Am a Paleontologist that is taking Mary's story and Mary's character and her name and being like, this is where she is, this is how empowered she is, like taking today's society and inserting it into her story. So it's
taking the essence of an idea of who we think she is, and she's making that declaration.
Yeah, and it's because I was like, we couldn't be like, no, there's no female empowerment because that's the 19th century, because that doesn't resonate with today's audiences. So we've taken her and we've put her into today's society and empowered her, and I don't know if I'm explaining this well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think.
Yeah, we've tried to take as much information as we can while keeping her relatable to now society, and I'm so grateful that she can be empowering and she can be independent and she can be strong, because in nowadays we can. And yeah.
So that's all of the questions that we had sent in, but I wrote some. These are going to be the most amazing questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, and if I ask you this, you can ask it straight back to me, kind of
Right.
thing. So what's the most important thing of doing this project for you? You know, is it the creative, the collaborative, making $200 million, buy the album,
I'm broke, please.
fortune and fame? What? Yeah.
I mean, I just love music. I guess for me, the biggest appealing factor, if you will, of this album was the music and the storytelling. Like, as a music theatre performer, like, that's what I'm passionate about. I'm really passionate about telling other people's stories. And yeah, like, it just seemed like it was a really fun story to tell. And it was so well written that I was like, yeah, this sounds good. So, like, that for me is the most exciting part. Yeah, but it's also as a woman being able to bring this story to light and finally giving her the recognition that she deserves. But that's come from getting to know the character of Mary Anning. Initially, it was the excitement of, oh, a new story, you know? Like, yeah. That's what got me into it.
So what's my answer to that question? Most important part.
Obviously, the fame and fortune.
It's the fame and the fortune.
He's super selfish.
Buy the album. No, look,
Obviously joking.
I'm a narrative junkie, so it's the storytelling, but I also love, and it's the song for me, writing the songs. But it's none of the things that come afterwards. So it's all of the stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
It's the writing of it, the recording of it, these two nuggets working on it. And I wouldn't have wanted to work on it with anybody else.
No.
And it took a little while because somebody decided to get accepted into Griffith University.
Someone moved to Brisbane.
And COVID became a thing, but we found a way to do it because so part of my favouriteness.
Yeah, it
part
really
of the
is.
favouriteness of this is the us two doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it is like that's one of the best parts about working with you is it's all about the process, and it's kind of like even when we're doing live shows, we kind of get to the first performance and we're like, whatever happens now, because we've done what we're passionate about.
We made an album.
We did.
So what did you do on your holidays, Gemma? I made an album
in that voice.
Yeah, probably not that voice.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
What made you say yes to working with Michael Mills?
A very persistent messenger. So many messages. No, I mean, as in, what made me say yes to working with Michael Mills, like way back when we first met, or like
on
to this project?
On this, because you'd already worked with Michael Mills.
Yes. I don't know. This was just such like it was a natural progression, you know, like because when we were doing Big Book of Pirates, the first one, we had started talking about Big Book of Pirates, like the Bigger Book of Pirates, the second one. So it was like, well, when the Bigger Book of Pirates came around, like, of course I was in it. I was part of the planning. Like, I was just yes, of course I'm in it. No, duh. And then when we were doing that, then we started talking about, I think that went into the music video for Buddy. And then it was like, okay, yeah, great. That's our next project. Amazing. And then it was like, oh, I'm doing a thing with Mary Anning and the Flintettes. And it's just like this, we're going to do a music video and this one-off performance thing. Like,
and by the way, could you sing on the song?
Yeah, just as a side note, and I need you to record some backing vocals, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, like, we'll do that, great. And then it was like, oh, you're Mary Anning now, and I want to do an album, and I want it to be with you. And it was like, yeah, okay, that's the natural progression from that, sure. So, I don't know. It just kind of happened. I don't know how I got here. It just happened.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, roped in. No choice. No escape.
Favourite song on the album?
Oh,
and
okay.
Why?
Okay, this is hard because it changes. Yeah. No, based off of first listen, my first ever listen of the whole thing, all the songs, my favorite was In the Ocean. But that was also the mood that I was in that day, because it's very much like Christmas Carol meets Disney meets like
ABBA.
Yay, ABBA. Oh yeah, it was. It was a Christmas Carol written by ABBA for Disney. In the Ocean. Like, I don't know. Like, so that was my favorite right off the bat. And I just I love the message of that song as well. And then for a while it was Up and Away. Up We Go Away.
Yeah.
And I was like, for a while, was that just...
It's that flying thing.
Yeah, I clearly have a thing for flying and pterodactyls. Yeah, I don't know. But it kind of, it circles back to Curious Things. Just, yeah, I don't know. There's so much to dive into with that song. It's a lot of fun to sing. And it's a title album. So, and there's, I don't know. It's just a good song.
Yeah, it varies. I'm saying it varies. Thank you. For me, it varies. It changes from day to day.
It really changes on your mood.
I often love these Curious Things as well, because and I keep that bit in the change key in the chorus at the end. Roll up. It just for me, it's so visual. And it's so she sells seashells by the seashore. It's shades of that in terms of what it's saying. So, but the first time I listened back to the first mix of that, having put reverb on, I teared up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I had a sore leg.
Obviously, it was a relevant pain.
But no, because it was like this is everything.
Yeah.
In writing it, this is everything that I hoped it might be. Trey
really kind of fell together. It was really nice. Like, Trey was one of the only ones that we did in one take. And it was just go, do your thing. And it just all happened. And
which is what it was like in the writing of it. It just
and it it was just kind of the perfect song in that it was just yep.
If you could describe the album in a few sentences, how would you describe it? Bloody marvellous.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe it? Yeah.
I'm trying to think of good words so it comes out of my mouth smart, you know? An educational and empowering story told by two passionate individuals.
That's it. I can't add any more to that.
Thank you. It's amazing what happens when you stop and think about what's going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of says it all. Brilliant. All right. Any more questions? What's the most annoying thing about working with Michael Mills? Oh, hey, what did that sounds like there's a list.
Oh, wait.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No, I don't know.
It's okay to say nothing.
Nothing. No, I mean.
Or challenge? Is there any challenging? Is there anything? Is there anything you've gone? I don't think. So because I wrote that and I thought, how would I answer that?
I don't know. We go on a lot of tangents, but that's not particularly annoying. That's just kind of you look at the clock and you're like, it's been 6 hours. I was going to do other things today.
It's
and then I didn't.
You rock up. You rock up and say, we'll just have a cup of tea before we go into the studio.
I got here at 11 a.m. We started filming at 12:30. And it's not annoying, and it's also not your fault.
It's just funny.
Yeah. No, it's my dad asked me this morning, when we were heading out, he was like, is this going to be an all-day thing? And I was like, I'm going to see Michael Mills. I'm not just going to Port Elliot.
And he's just gone.
And he was like, okay, so
see you Thursday then.
So we might do takeaway dinner if you're home for it. And I was like, yeah, don't plan in advance. Just leave it. We'll call you when we're coming home. You know,
Yeah, I remember we did a Zoom once and it went for about 3 hours. Oh, you made a balloon.
I did.
You made a balloon doll.
I did. I can make balloon animals. Random talents. Face painting and balloon animals.
Do you reckon Mary could make balloon animals?
Oh, probably not, considering balloons are weird and I can't picture her with a balloon.
No, she had a real
doll. Was
doll.
plastic a thing in?
No.
Yeah,
but
there
rubber,
it is.
Yeah, balloons. Do some research. Let us know.
Were balloons a thing when Mary Anning was alive?
Okay, so that's the most annoying thing. What's the best thing about working with Michael Mills?
Obviously the money. I'm joking. I'm clearly joking. We're all artists. We're all dying.
Yeah, we're all.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the freedom. Definitely the freedom. Because like when we're doing a show at uni, like we're working with industry professionals. We're working in an environment where like this is what it will be like when you get cast in a show, and there's still they go on and on about like the sense of play and how important it is to be able to play and take chances and give offers and go with it, and you do, but it's nowhere near the same extent that I get to here, because like I could literally do anything, and no, within reason.
Yes, yeah.
I could do anything within the realm of reality in the character's universe.
Reality, but yeah.
No, but it's
I know what you mean.
as long as it's reasonable for like Mary to do that, and it's like, yep, great. And how can we use that more? And what ideas do you have? And like I just remember when we did the last anyway, the last music video with Mary, I did a lot of the filming. Like I was there with.
It's like, here's a gimbal.
I was there with my gimbal doing all the angles. There's so many horrific photos of me like lying down on the floor, like trying to get all fun angles, and a lot of them ended up in the video. But it was there's nowhere else where you can play to that extent, and like I kind of imagined a better first professional job than this one, because it's given me a sense of responsibility and working in the industry and working to a professional standard, but it's also just been like, just grow, just more, give me more, be better, be, different, new, everything. Just like there's no better environment to be able to grow as an artist than this one, and that is the best thing about working with you.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Best thing about working with Gemma Dandie? Our secret handshake.
Clearly.
Do not try that at home. I think it kind of follows on from what you said in terms of for me, you want to work with performers that you know, or other creatives, depending on what you're working on. You want to work on somebody that is brave, that when you give them space to play, they will play, that takes risks, that embraces risks, that can do the stuff, can, record Trey in one take, but can also play. And I think the creative relationship works. And there are lots of people that I work with, and lots of people that I've worked with, but this is one of my favourites because it just works and it's easy. And I don't think we've had a row yet, have we?
I was like,
no, you're just like blah 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 blah. No, but for me, I think it's about all of the things that I've worked with performers with over the years, where you give them freedom to play. This is the best of it.
Thank you. That was a good question.
I know.
Good question.
I'm good like that. All right.
Okay, what is it? Lies.
Look, one more.
Okay.
One more. If Michael Mills was to write another song for Gemma Dandie to sing, and it could be about anything, and it could be in any style, what would it be?
Well, I'm thinking it would be a ballad, because, like, there's something about the number.
That works.
Yeah, it clearly works well.
Yeah.
And like my brain goes back to Whispers in the Night, and similar, like, because it has to be a story because that works. Ballad storytelling. But I liked the maturity and subject matter of Whispers.
Yep.
Because it was so relevant and
Yeah.
so real.
So for those that haven't had it, it's a song that I wrote when I was 17 and Gemma recorded when she was 17.
You should really go listen to it.
Only a couple of years between the two.
Oh, yeah. There was like a couple.
5?
Couple. Maybe.
But yes, okay.
Yeah.
So a ballad about a matter of consequence.
Yeah.
That tells a story.
That is, yeah.
Well, it looks like I've got some work to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. We're done.
That's the end.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
See ya.
See you later.